the stronger or weaker team coming into it. So if you look at pre-tournament expectations, yeah, this is still anyone's game. But if we looked at just the games that have been played so far, you would call TSM the favorites. We know anything can happen, though.
Well, and a lot of that is going to be decided in the draft phase. What are both teams going to opt to go for here? A lot of support early focus coming in. Tom Kench Braum taken off the board. The Elise, the early game impact champions, taken away from Broxa on the side of TSM.
And the thing is, one of the strategies that P1 took against Fnatic was let's ban away all the AD carries, force Reckless onto something that he might not be as comfortable. He brought out the Corki, and while his individual performance was not that bad, we talked about how as a composition, it was not the strongest, and Fnatic were put at a huge deficit against P1 until they found a massive team fight where they were able to just immediately end the game. TSM are not going to give you that kind of opportunity. They're so much more better at controlling the map, and they're more than happy to play conventional AD carries. Last time they met, this Ashe from Doublelift was fantastic.
This is really clever by TSM, though. Fnatic didn't ban Caitlyn. TSM has the Reckless flowchart. They know that Caitlyn does not exist in the Reckless flowchart, so they're not going to pick it. So there's actually the Caitlyn totally pickable right now for TSM.
Caitlyn is available, Galio is available. There are a lot of solid picks up and online. Fnatic, for some reason, prioritizing the Rek'Sai. We're going to have to see if that will pay off for them, because...
So for the first time this tournament, the ban phase was very unique. Pretty much just junglers and supports banned. 3 junglers, 3 supports, which leaves so many of your A or S tier picks in other roles available. Fnatic saw the pinch happening on jungle. They said Rek'Sai was going to be the best available for Broxa, because even if Svenskeren plays Lee Sin, he thinks Rek'Sai can counter it since you just right-click. I really want to know what TSM does here.
Have to see. They're going to go for the Kha'Zix, but...
Stay away from Lee Sin.
One of the few times that Shen has been left open and available for Fnatic. Usually a focus to shut that down. We've talked to Fnatic so many times over the course of the split chat, and the one thing that they constantly say is, if you give us the Shen and the Kennen, we will find a free win. So maybe
put it
Fnatic.
to the test.
Yeah. And now I'd love to see Caps take the LeBlanc for himself, right? So much hype has gone around this mid laner from Europe that I wanted to see him on a playmaker. We heard the analyst say that he wants to be on a playmaker. He is going to go for the Syndra, which is a perfectly fine alternative option. They were able to win with the Syndra yesterday, and I feel like it's a very lane-dominant champion, but it is going up against Bjergsen, one of his best-performing champions throughout the North American LCS. It's just, he was the guy that brought it out in the first place. You're kind of going up against the OG, I'm sure, is more than happy to bring out all kind of answers. And
when he played against Perks' Syndra on day 1, Bjergsen pulled out the Galio in the mid lane. They picked that with Jarvan, they tried to snowball the game, and they were successful at it. Also for Fnatic, that Camille can very well be a flex pick, especially with the multitude of support bans we've seen here. I think it's going to be the, I mean, unless we see the bans here, of Shen and Kennen, those are almost surely the picks Fnatic would go with to close out their draft.
Interesting that they are still banning out supports, because I feel like that this is almost guaranteed to be a support Camille. We could see a Morgana come out as an answer to it. The spell sheet is very effective at shutting down a lot of the CC, and it would work quite well against the Syndra as well, especially with all of these supports banned away. But also, like, TSM have so much option in their draft too. The flexibility of the Galio, the flexibility of the Camille from Fnatic. Still a lot of question marks as to what exactly is going where.
Of course, J4 going to be taken away from TSM. Do not want to give them both the Jarvan and the Galio here.
And I like that ban, especially against Syndra, who wouldn't really be able to disengage that initiation. I think that's one of the best combos you can do with the Galio.
I feel like they're forcing.
They're pushing them into it.
They're saying, please take that champion.
Not only do they know Fnatic's preferences of the Camille, Kennen bottom lane with like a Shen top, they're almost daring them to do so, which is pretty interesting.
Well, and every time a European team has taken that approach, they have learned very quickly why people ban the Shen and the Kennen away. But TSM, one of the few teams where we suddenly feel like they can push Fnatic into their style and still maybe take a win here. And so far, they have so many powerful picks in the draft, as the Bard is going to be the final ban on the side of Fnatic.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the big questions we have. I mean, I know that Kennen is pretty much the pick for Reckless, and we all talk about it's the only champion. He's the only one who could win on it. But it's also all 3 of Fnatic's game losses within the regular split as well. So there's a potential hole there. And I've talked to a lot of people. They think Reckless on Trist is actually better than Reckless on Kennen. So interesting that TSM is almost calling that Kennen bluff and saying, pick it if you want.
We're waiting, kind of bated breath. They do.
And then it's got to be Shen last, right?
I mean, coming in, and then we just see the Camille support going down into the hands of Jesus, just Fnatic, all about their style. But TSM know it. TSM have walked into this, and if you're Fnatic, you have to wonder, are these guys nervous? That they're getting so much, that they're getting everything, and TSM is just sitting there with grins on their faces, happy to go through this draft phase.
Fnatic have gotten the classic Fnatic composition. They have the Shen, they have the Kennen, they have the Camille. They have so many ways to force action happening down in the bottom lane. We talked about how Morgana could be used as an answer. If TSM want another way of engaging, they could go, we talked about the Morgana rather, they could, if they want another 4 engage, go for the Alistar, but instead, they're actually going for the Lulu, and I think this is a bit of a gamble, because while Lulu synergizes nicely with Kate in terms of being able to push, harass, and the peel that she provides, like in terms of the actual 2v2, there's a fair amount of kill threat with the Kennen and the Camille. And one of the reasons why we shifted so much towards melee supports was because of the nerfs to Lulu meant that she was that much squishier in lane, and she was at risk of being all in.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm just really excited to see these team compositions play against each other, because we heard about this Fnatic play style that they had been perfecting, and then you never got to see them play Shen. Everyone banned against him. You wouldn't see the Camille support, but then all the support bans that came out, all the jungle bans that came out, TSM daring Fnatic to go with it, and Fnatic saying, we do not care that you know we're going to do this. We are going to play it anyway because they think they can win with it. Sets up a hype matchup.
It definitely does. This is, I feel like, the quintessential NA versus EU. This is arguably the strongest European team, Fnatic. Least expected coming into this tournament, playing their signature style, their signature composition. TSM knows it, and they want to go toe-to-toe with it.
And teams have challenged this Fnatic style before, and they have failed in the past. People do not expect the amount of time that Shen and the jungler just spend in the bottom lane. Like, so much playmaking will happen in the bottom half of the map, and we have to keep our eyes on it as we gear up for the rematch of Fnatic v TSM.
Fnatic versus TSM. Last time, TSM took it quite handily. This time, Fnatic gets their hands on everything they want. But TSM has planned it for the start. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Fnatic versus TSM. Ever eager to make it to the finals. Is this going to be the finals preview? We will find out.
Yeah, and there's only 4 games left in the group stage, including this one. No one has clinched that final spot yet. The only team eliminated so far is G2, so wins are at such a premium at this point to make it to that final.
Fnatic now grouping up, looking for an opportunity to find an early advantage. It's not just the bot lane that they're willing to play around. Both teams grouping, looking for the early jungle vision.
30 seconds.
Moving around the corner, Hanzo, that's not what you wanted, the chain CC, the exhaust, it goes down. That's going to be first blood, and Fnatic, they're starting strong.
What is Hanzo doing? I mean, he's getting the cheeky poking onto Shen, basically saying, nah, you're not going to start taunt just to kill me?
Yeah.
Because they didn't have vision of anyone else on Fnatic. Classic Fnatic play, doing a creative level 1. They sneak people behind. Soaz is cheeky. The ultimate person you want to kill is Soaz. In League of Legends, it feels like, and everyone gets baited by it. Hanszer, the next victim.
Oh man, he had absolutely no idea that Fnatic would be lying in wait, but now TSM, they've set up a plan of their own. Can they get the reverse? Oh, the laugh from Jesus.
Did they
Did they spot it?
I don't think they would. I just think they know.
Well, they were all top, so this is why TSM did that. If everyone on Fnatic goes top, that means they didn't get wards in the bottom, but they don't get any picks off of it.
Well, now it's going to be the aggressive start on the Raptors for Svenskeren, taking at least a little bit away from Broxa, and a bit different in how they're going to divvy up the map. He's still going to be fine, though, taking away the blue buff. Svenskeren not going to get the leash onto the red for the full start.
Yeah, the thing is, Broxa's more than happy to just trade top half of the map for the bottom side. It will allow both Doublelift and Bifrost to just keep pushing in this lane. They already have the range advantage in this matchup, but now they know that they have the jungle support too, so they can look to be as aggressive and look to trade as often as they want.
Yeah, they have the map side, but they don't have the item advantage. Reckless is the one who got first blood, and he went back for a dagger. So as far as a pushing matchup, the attack speed does have a fairly large influence over who can do that, but I agree with you that they can't do that until they have Broxa on their side of the map.
I'm surprised too, because I can't quite see it on screen. Does he have 3 health pots, or does he have just the 1? Because I think that's why he would go for the daggers. 3. So there you go. He's picked up the 2 additional health pots as well. As,
Broxa potentially in trouble here. Leap back. That's the Justice Punch. That's going to be the kill back for TSM. And just excellent punish on the aggressive pathing from Broxah.
So Bjergsen did a great job there of taking away the blast cone, and I don't think Broxah was expecting that hitbox to hit him as well. Beautiful setup from Bjergsen, and the rest of TSM getting the collapse and getting themselves an early return kill.
And that's just a product of the vision that they placed earlier, warding out their own red buff, seeing that it was going to be the trade on the map. And we thought, hey, they're just going to divvy it up top and bottom, and TSM ready to take advantage of that assumption.
Yeah, a lot of times, League of Legends is all about patterns, and pro players have to break those patterns or find holes in them, and that's one thing. Did not want to just straight up trade. Gives FNC the double buffs.
Oh, really good use of the Storm Raider Surge there from Caps as well to be able to get away from the taunt. The bonus movement speed, extremely valuable as the pressure continues to be exerted by the TSM bottom lane. Overall, still a healthy start for TSM, even though they lost first blood in the top lane. The fact that Svenskeren is going to get a 4-buff start means that he will have the early jungle advantage. And Broxah on this Rek'Sai, he really does want to try and utilize the early strengths that the Rek'Sai does have and see if he can snowball some of these lanes in Fnatic's favor.
Definitely wants to, but he got destroyed in that exchange. The buff taken away from him now has to go back to his bottom side where so many camps are already cleared out. Maybe he's hoping to contest against Svenskeren, but that is a double buffed Kha'Zix.
Yeah, and it is a dangerous invade with the duo lane being so close, but if he can get a gank and Kha'Zix doesn't see him, he would be okay. Broxah now on the run.
Kha'Zix sees him. A little bit of the taste of fear, just a bit of damage down. TSM not looking to overextend or take any risks, but Broxah spending a lot of time not doing anything.
And note the respect from the TSM bottom lane as well. They stop pushing in to Reckless and Jesus. They allow the wave to push back so they can get a little bit of a freeze. This gives them the opportunity to put more harass down, but it's also a lot of respect shown towards Broxah, who may have come in from over the wall to try and get a cheeky gank off and relieve the pressure from Reckless and Jesus.
Yeah, and one thing that Fnatic has done so well in the summer split here is when they have these lanes that are getting pushed in with the Kennen, if they're up against a Caitlyn, they just gank the Caitlyn over and over again until it doesn't matter and Reckless is ahead because they have kill pressure with Camille. But in order to do that, you need to win the early game. The Rek'Sai has to have pressure, and the mid lane, Syndra has to have pressure, and then obviously the Shen can come down as well, which generally can't be matched by the other top laner. So for the first time, all Rift rivals, they have the champions with which to execute that style. We just have to see if they can do it.
And I actually, thinking about it more, the fact that the Galio was also picked for Bjergsen means that they too have an answer for if Shen tries to make a play down bottom, because even if Hauntzer doesn't have the TP, not only do you have a TP on Bjergsen, but it's super easy for him to just ulti down to the bottom half of the map. This means that Doublelift and Biofrost don't have to lane swap once Shen gets level 6 to avoid him making that cross-map play.
Interesting too, because Jesus brought up how difficult it was for Fnatic to play against that Galio, how it mitigated so many of their mid-game playmaking options. Now in the past, they were able to play through it to find a win, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. And this feels like the draft of TSM starting to take hold a little bit in terms of how it's going to interact with what Fnatic want to do. And you can already see in terms of the CS numbers, especially on the bottom side of the map, how they're starting to win out on some of these lanes.
Yeah, and in this game, if it gets late, Doublelift has to be the one to carry TSM, because unlike the last game where TSM had Galio, there's not a good, reliable Galio initiation system like the Jarvan. So the Galio is then put into a more defensive role, and that requires Doublelift to carry really hard on the Caitlyn.
Yeah, there will be a lot of emphasis on Doublelift in particular, but one of the players I really want to highlight is the man Caps, the mid laner for Fnatic, because there was a lot of hype around him coming into the tournament. A lot of fans were challenging me, being like, oh, why isn't Caps in your top 5? You know, why isn't he in your OP5? Why have you got Bjergsen there? And I think one of the big things is like the experience that Bjergsen has, but also like Caps really has struggled this tournament. Like his KDA has been extremely low. He's been shut down very often in lane. His kill contribution with the team has been fairly low. And while his damage percentage has been fairly high, he's had a lot of Corki games and he's had a lot of Orianna games. So I feel like a large part of that is tied to his champion pool that he's been playing in this tournament too. So while there's been a lot of hype, right now, Caps really has not been able to live up to it.
He did say, Monster woke up. He unfortunately had to play a Nivea right after he said that, so didn't get to see it. But maybe now on the Syndra we'll get to see more playmaking. But TSM just begun to try to mitigate it with the Galio. Bjergsen potentially ready to flash over the wall if they see the engage, but giving Fnatic the respect and no option for Caps to outplay right now in this matchup.
And TSM have to be careful because Soaz is level 6. And it's not like Hauntzer is smashing that lane in any way after giving up first blood and actually being out CS'd by Soaz's Shen. So both teams have ways to dissuade the enemy from making plays. Meaning we could have a fairly farm-heavy early game, and I'm expecting if we do see fights, it's going to be the extended parties in a lane where everyone finds a way to join.
And everyone will have a way to join. You can see Jesus ready to go at a moment's notice. The level 6 for the Fnatic bot lane could be the big crux, what they're waiting for before they look for those engages. But you can see Biofrost and Doublelift playing a lot more back than they were in the first few levels, respecting the potential there.
Now, I won't give any guarantees this game, but often when you look at Fnatic, you do expect, like, maybe they'll play a little bit more of a slow laning phase, maybe they'll just hold on to the reins for a little while, but you can never quite expect what Fnatic are going to do, and whenever they have a Shen Kennen in that bottom lane, they're always going to fight. It's so it's danger.
Getting pulled back, Meganar coming in nicely. Shield comes in from the Shen passive, and Entour's going to have to back off, but not quite the trade that he wanted.
And remember the last time these two top laners met, Soa's got that beautiful outplay underneath the turret down onto Hauntzer, who hasn't had the strongest of performances this tournament, but Soaz, he's the one now under pressure. The Gnar with the range advantage, able to pull a lot of poke out, taking advantage of the movement speed from the Phage 2 is always keeping that Shen at arm's length and making Soaz's life difficult. And the pressure that he has up top also makes it harder for him to TP down to the bottom lane and help Rekkles and Jesus if they want to try and make a play.
Yeah, Shen teleporting top for the lane pressure while Caps is down to try and get some river control. Not the worst thing because the Shen obviously gets the extra jump. And this is kind of why we're now seeing Rekkles and Jesus push Doublelift and Biofrost in, because Camille 6 plus Kennen 6 plus Shen plus a Cinderhoof and River is all of the kill pressure you're kind of ever going to need. So the fact that the Caitlyn from Doublelift and Biofrost didn't even take the turret below half, didn't grant more than a 10 CS advantage, I think is a win for Rekkles' Kennen and Jess's Camille.
And notice how Biofrost is always standing behind Doublelift too, because he realizes that if Fnatic are to all in, he is going to be the target. Lulu is so squishy in the early game that they want to try and shut him down as quickly as possible. And because of the lack of utility and really early game damage, Doublelift won't be able to turn it around. So he has to sit on the front line. He will be shielded and he'll be given the extra utility. But they are always playing around the respect, or they're respecting rather, the possibility of this all-in from Fnatic.
In a difficult spot now for TSM to be, not sure maybe when to pull the trigger against this composition, but later and later they go into the game, the less and less the Kennen's going to feel like a huge impact, and the more, or the stronger rather, Doublelift is going to get. So for now, maybe both sides content to keep farming up, just waiting for Fnatic to kind of pull the trigger on what their composition wants to do.
So the gold is even 10 minutes into the game. Bjergsen looking for a little bit of harassment down onto Caps, and unfortunately this mid lane matchup, not quite the most exciting of ones, as Broxah, he has just found Sven.
Moving forward, Broxah potentially
a lot of damage.
That's going to take him down. So much damage coming in for the Kazakhs. Now Bjergsen moving forward. Cap's definitely going to be in trouble here if he's not careful. Soaz on the way forward. Bjergsen, will he get taken down right here? Blocking out the auto attacks. Bjergsen running for his life. Soaz with the flash forward, but Svenskeren does so much damage, and Soaz has isolated himself. Svenskeren just going to grab that one. Disaster striking for Fnatic because suddenly the bot lane is getting so aggressive. No more Shen means no more threat. Bye-bye, Jesus. Doublelift coming in clutch.
Across the map, Fnatic lose every single fight. Broxah thinks he has Shen in his back pocket. He does not. Svenskeren isolates him, kills him. Soaz didn't ult. Then Fnatic try and take a fight in the mid lane and the bot lane simultaneously and lose both.
This is so fantastic for TSM. They are playing this early game beautifully. They don't fall prey to the all-in play from Rekkles and Jesus. They don't lose anyone as the Shen ulti comes into the mid lane, and Svenskeren gets the solo kill down onto Broxah. They get the first Our Blood too. Add to that the first Drake of the game. They have just blown this into a 3,000 gold lead in just under a minute.
And Vidius, I don't get it from what Fnatic did there. I don't know why they tried to all in that bottom side. While their Rek'Sai was dead, their Shen was ulting, and Caps was fighting in the mid lane. That is not the advantage you're trying to play around. So we're going to see this unfold once again. Clearing the Raptors, and Svenskeren with his empowered Q is just going to kill Broxah, and he immediately jumps in. The Shen ult goes to turn, and I was wondering why Hauntzer didn't teleport in earlier, which is why Fnatic tries to go aggressive. The big surprise, though, to me, is the bottom lane fight.
Yeah, so what happens down in the bottom lane is they identify that Biofrost walks into the river to try and put down a ward. And Fnatic is thinking, if Galio is too engaged to make anything happen, then they can just shut down Doublelift before he has an answer. But Doublelift, he just does not get bursted down. He positions extremely well. He gets a trap down onto Jez's too, and both Biofrost and Double just turn the focus onto Jez's, while Reckless doesn't really get involved in the fight at all. They get themselves up a kill in the 2v2, and they just add to the early game lead of TSM.
Right, and for the experience that Reckless and Jez's have on Kennen, Camille, knowing when to all in, I'm just so surprised that that failed so much. They didn't get anyone below half health, and Doublelift just stood there and tanked it. So, I mean, TSM definitely outplayed them there, but some questionable engages there by Fnatic.
Absolutely the case. Not respecting the Kha'Zix in the case of Broxa, in the case of Soaz. Not going to make that mistake again, however, but things looking very grim for the Fnatic lineup. We expect that to be the explosive point where Fnatic find a lead, but it's TSM who just punished them so cleanly everywhere on the map.
And it was TSM in the draft that were clearly challenging Fnatic. They were saying, we have planned perfectly for what you want to bring out. We have an answer for everything that you want to try and do. So if you want to take the bait, then fine. But be warned, we will dismantle you if you do. Fnatic say, you know what, we've done this time and time again. We've been challenged and no one has yet to do it. But TSM have demonstrated that they could very well be one of the first.
Yeah, and once Galio has the freedom to roam towards the top side, you can threaten the three-man dive on the top lane. That is a play that TSM has run to much success before. Jez's, though, is getting poked out.
Not going to take a whole lot of damage here, but Fnatic now starting to push in the mid lane, maybe a bit more focus there. Of course, Cloud Drake for TSM makes it a bit easier for them to move between the lanes, but nothing major. However, Svenskeren so incredibly strong on the Kha'Zix right now. Caulfield plus the Warrior enchant this early in the game. You saw Soaz giving him respect earlier and backing away because realistically that Shen cannot stand the fight, but can't continue to trade with the Mininar under his tower.
Yeah, Svenskeren off to a very good start in a game where I feel like he needs to prove himself. Everyone has been calling him a Lee Sin one-trick, I think for good reason in the summer split, because that's the only champion he had found consistent success on. This game, he takes the Kha'Zix over the Lee Sin. His top laner dies at level 1. Svenskeren is pushed into an odd start to his jungle, finds Broxa, gets first blood, also is the catalyst for the big fight in the mid game that gives TSM lead. Here comes the dive.
Oh, and Soaz getting collapsed on. There's the hero's entrance. Reckless on the way in. Bjergsen potentially in trouble. The chain CC coming, but Svenskeren's on the way as well. Soaz gonna have to respect the Kha'Zix, but he doesn't see it coming. Stealth up, goes in, takes him down. TSM.
And this is another classic Fnatic style where no one really expects Reckless to randomly appear in Soaz's lane, but TSM, they still get the turnaround. They have 3 members up and ready, but Fnatic, they're trying to get some kind of answer by taking down this mid tier.
And it's a 4K gold lead at 15 minutes, but Jez is gonna try to change that. He's instantly exhausted. Caps can't really go in. Biofrost is still alive. Out comes the ultimate. Block a little bit of damage from the ace in the hole, but Bjergsen's there as well. And Hanser's gonna get the top tower. TSM are destroying Fnatic.
Yeah, 5,000 gold now at 15 minutes by TSM. And yes, you don't expect Kennen to be there, but even if he is there, what really happens? Because it's still a 3v2. Fnatic is just not backing up the plays the way I feel like they did in the regular season, and some of that could just be TSM is applying pressure, or they're just feeling very ready for it.
And you can see there, Soaz does his best. I feel like he identifies the dive is coming, but he's more than ready to make the play because he knows that Reckless is behind him. They then overcommit, and I feel like they're not ready for Svenskeren to also join the fray because a great knock-up coming out from Bjergsen with the follow-up damage from a 3-0-1, now 4-0-1 Svenskeren means that they get themselves another kill, they get themselves another tower, at 5,000 gold, 16 minutes into the game, 2 tower lead in favor of TSM. This is a beautiful early game going in the NA favor.
And we were wondering after that Unicorns Love defeat if this would be the wake-up call for TSM. Well, it certainly looks like it is, and at this point, Fnatic are the ones who want to wake up because this is a nightmare for this team. This team does not do well from behind when all of their plays, the standard Fnatic playbook, I feel like everything that we've seen from them has failed so far, and now a Rift Herald as well. 4K gold lead continuing to grow, and Fnatic really running out of options so quickly.
Yeah, and item power spikes coming through as well. Adaptive Helm was buffed on patch 7.13. Have to run some numbers to see if it is the best item against Syndra still, but it definitely makes him fairly resilient to that ultimate. Infinity Edge completed by Doublelift, only going to be scaling up from here, and Caps just doesn't seem to have much pressure in that mid lane with Syndra. We haven't seen him make any successful roam plays.
No. And you saw the hover of the LeBlanc coming out from TSM. They decided not to go for an early mid lane champion. They instead would rather give Bjergsen the counter. And we have to keep saying it because the draft from TSM was just so impressive and they're executing upon it fantastically. Now, the Dragon is going to be spawning soon. Bjergsen, he's going for a play on a Caps.
And all of TSM are here and ready for the collapse. Meganar on the way for Hanser. He's going to get an auto. We're not even going to need the kill because FNC is there to wipe it up. And now TSM, they're just moving down the mid lane.
Yeah, and they get both summoner spells out of Caps right there to now show 5 strong in the mid lane. Do they have, where's the Herald? Did they already use it somewhere? They just summoned it. Yeah, and that's going to be a continuation of this push.
Caitlyn's so strong at sieging these towers. They have a strong Hanser continuously throwing out the boomerang blades. A level 7 Camille support, a severely underfed Broxa, the only defense left. And TSM, double tower, a kill, and now a dragon as well.
Just such clean League of Legends from TSM. They start off by taking the tier 1 down in the bottom lane after a misplay from the Fnatic bottom lane. They take the tier 1 in the top lane by making a great roam with Bjergsen and Sven. Then they don't even need the Rift Herald to take the mid because their priority is just dive in Caps, who cannot do anything against this 3-man unit.
Yeah, and Fnatic is trying to set up the side lane so they can pull off the Shen and Kennen plays, but they have no pressure on the map in doing so, and Caps is still trying to clear the mid lane. This is the side lane play they're trying to set up. Can they get anything?
Oh, beautiful Wild Growth. Flash out, still getting the knock up despite it. TSM, they give up some resources, but they're trading back so more on the side of Fnatic because meanwhile, Hanser is just split pushing on the bottom side, completely uncontested.
Yeah, and where's the answer going to be from Fnatic now? Because they burned the Shen ultimate and the Shen flash and still didn't get a kill out of it. Yes, they got summoner spells and the Lulu ultimate, but they only get so many tries at these plays, and TSM is just so ready for it.
And honestly, we just have to keep saying it. TSM playing so incredibly well this game, and Fnatic just feels like so set into their style. They did not expect to be outplayed like this across the map. They were not prepared for the sheer level of, I don't even know, brilliance, counter picks, intelligent play.
I think it was just flat out disrespect from Fnatic. They said, we have perfected this style. We, time and time again in Europe, have demonstrated that if you give us these champions, we know how to crush you. And TSM have said, well, you know what? We see a massive flaw in your draft. We have identified that your style is too limited, you're too narrow-minded, and we are going to prove why you need to fix this because TSM are dismantling everything that Fnatic stands for.
Yeah, I think it's a bold draft by both teams because from Fnatic's perspective, when they get their champions, they win all the time. And they are going to continue to do that as long as they win. But for TSM, they think Caitlyn is good. They think Galio is busted. They're just doing the stuff that most of the world thinks is optimal. So they're daring Fnatic to try and beat them, and at least in this game, it's not even close.
TSM just going to move in, try to take down this tower. Bjergsen being the front line has to give him the respect. Can't afford to take the risk. Can't afford to give up anything else. And you're right. This has to feel, you had to feel good in the draft phase of Fnatic. You got all the pieces you wanted, and for TSM, the confidence to go, hey, we've seen you destroy every European team with this. We don't care.
I mean, even thinking of the second phase of the draft where Fnatic already had Camille locked in, and then TSM bans Blitzcrank. Are they playing coy? We know what's coming from Fnatic. It's gonna be Kennen and Shen.
You can just ban Shen.
You'd be like, ooh, we're gonna trick them with the Camille flex pick, boys. No, you're not. They know it's gonna be coming. But I'm just really interested to see how it's playing out.
Good so far. Doublelift gonna grab Bread Buff on his way to that Baron pit. Setting up vision for TSM. It's only 20 minutes, but they have a Mountain Drake. Doublelift going over the wall.
Oh my god, they're just gonna do it.
I mean, he's level 11. Look at Svenskaren's items. He has a Hex Drinker, a Yomu. There is no tanky stats, and he doesn't need them. They are ripping this Baron apart.
That's gone.
That is one isolated Nasher, and Fnatic are completely unaware. They're busy setting up a play on the bottom side.
Really good call there from TSM. Onto though, he is alone.
They try to get out of this one, but it looks like Fnatic are going to at least fire back with a kill onto Hanser. Are going to take him down.
No.
Galio coming in. Bjergsen now committed to the play, but he's in the middle of 4 members of Fnatic.
Here come TSM.
Can the Chain CC come in? Biofrost is here. Svenskaren is on the way. Jesus needs to play safe, but Fnatic are going to back off, only getting the single kill in exchange for the Baron.
Yeah, Hanser does save the turret in the meanwhile, but that's... If we're talking about disrespectful plays, the level 1 play where Hanser died and that are the disrespectful plays. TSM just did Baron. Where could Fnatic be? Right? they were definitely not in the Baron or on the other side of the map. So walking into just probably wasn't thinking that much about it because they've been on autopilot since being up so much gold. But he gives up TSM's second death of the game.
Yeah. Completely agree with you. Bit of a lapse in judgment there from Hanser, but regardless, overall still worth it for TSM. They get the objective. They only have to sacrifice their top laner for it. And
I think, yeah, definitely worth it.
5-0-1 for Sven Skaren right now. As he is
10K gold lead, Vedius.
10K.
10K. We are 22 minutes into the game. Sven Skaren, full AD, so is a little bit vulnerable, has the Hexdrinker shield, but with a Caitlyn powering up very quickly, getting to 3 items, almost, it could be 25 minutes when this Caitlyn has 3 items. This is insane, and this is, as you can see, the largest deficit at 20 minutes in Rift Rivals 2017.
8,554 gold.
That's
at
a big
20
one.
minutes. Yes.
Fnatic still yet to pick up an Elemental Drake at Rift Rivals, so it's not like this game is necessarily an aberration for them. They have been able to squeak out 2 victories, but they have been struggling all week for whatever reason, and this game is definitely a continuation of that.
And so as he's trying to delay the minion wave from getting there, but Haunter, he's already got one. They've got a Baron, but
already got minions.
TP coming in. That's how it's going down.
Not a lot of options left. Caps throwing down a bit of damage, but can't get close enough to Sven Skaren to throw down that ultimate, and the shielding coming in from Biofrost would deny the kill anyway. TSM just going to take this inhibitor. Fnatic maybe hoping to find a way in, but Bjergsen threatening with the taunt there. Just constantly denying any engage opportunity for Fnatic.
The thing is, like, what answers do Fnatic have at this point, right? Because if they try to engage, Sven is extremely fed. Doublelift is already at 2.5 items. I don't even know if Fnatic have the damage to be able to kill them. When you think about scaling, do Fnatic really outscale? Like, it's a Caitlyn. Like, Caitlyn's late game is immense against a Kennen who's going for Blade of the Ruin King into Phantom Dance. He's going for more like a side lane dueling kind of build.
Yeah.
And I feel like Fnatic, they're extremely limited on their options right now.
Exactly. Add the Ardent Sensor into it, and TSM is actually in the midst of a very big power spike, which is why they're just blowing through this mid lane turret and almost daring Fnatic to fight them.
So confident they pick up the QSS as well, and now Caps taking so much poke here in the exchange, so as stun, but does buffer the taunt, so will make it out, and TSM just going to take their second tower. Fnatic are powerless to help them, no one there to body block for Caps, but he's still going to make it out, and Jesus slowly walking away. TSM not taking any risks, not going for the aggressive play, just sieging down each and every one of these towers and closing hope against Fnatic.
And TSM, they couldn't be playing this any better. They've got perfect vision set up in both sides of the jungle. They have plenty of windows for Haunter to TP to. Bjergsen can ult in if he wants, but they're not even bothering. They're literally just grouping as a 5-man, taking advantage of the Baron. They took down 2 inhibitors, and now all they have to do is group up top and siege. And against the Caitlyn, with no vision for Fnatic to try and flank, like, TSM are well on their way to just closing out this game with Fnatic being able to do anything and really adding a lot of question marks to where is this Fnatic style.
And let's look at the 2 kills that Fnatic have gotten. 1, Haunter Disrespect. 2, potentially Haunter Disrespect. Both of the kills that they have gotten have been Haunter moving a little too far forward, and that's not criticism of Haunter. That's claim to how well he has been playing. Not important, because they're just
There we go, they got another one.
Ardent Sensor Biofrost should not be in the front there, so that is Jess's getting the pick off, and that's what you were expecting to see so much more of this game from Fnatic, with the ability to create side lane pressure. But do they try and come back in the 3v5? I mean, they have the Gnar in a different lane, and they have to imagine there's 5 people from Fnatic near.
All they have to do, though, is stop the backs, right? Because Gnar can just gradually hit onto the tower. Fnatic's going in.
Over the wall, Doublelift tries the QSS, but it may not be enough. Galio coming in trying to save the day, but no Lulu there to stop him. Fnatic ready for the turn, but Bjergsen is just so tanky. Sven Skaren now coming in on the front line. That's a Haunter. He's well on the way to Mega Gnar. He has the flash. He's going to move in right over the wall. They're just going to delete the opposition. Double kill for Sven.
I mean, if you don't win that fight as Fnatic, you're not going to win a fight, because they already killed the support. They get the instant kill on Doublelift, where they jump over the wall and get him with the cannon ult, and it was pretty much 5v3, but Haunter gets his teleport to come back in there, and they still clean the floor of Fnatic there.
As you rightly said, Jack, perfect setup for Fnatic, and TSM just said, no, you are not coming back into this game. We are not Phoenix 1. We are still gonna dismantle you, destroy you, eviscerate you, and we are looking to take your 3rd and final end here.
And now they're backing off, still giving so much respect over. 1:34 on the Baron. They see 1 inhibitor left, no towers to protect it. They know they have the game won. They are not giving Fnatic any opportunity, whether it's in that last fight or here, as they back off and give Fnatic a brief breather before what we can safely call an inevitable end.
Yeah, we might wait a minute and 20 seconds for that next Baron. Watching this one more time. Great job by Reckless. Hiding in the brush, jumping straight on Doublelift, and then they burst him through the Galio ultimate. But from there, this is, at this point, after the fight, an 8-kill Sven Skaren, who still gets to join in that fight. Haunter then gets Mega Gnar at the right time, decides he doesn't want to split push that turret, will instead join to pick up 3 kills, and the teleport's definitely worth.
And I feel like one of the biggest things was the fact that Caps got shut down so early on in the fight. FNC, you know, you look at this Caitlyn and you think, oh, Infinity Edge, Static Shiv, Rapid Fire Cannon, that's the main damage shield that you got to kill. But Sven is like, nah, I think I do a little more damage than Caitlyn. And he just rips through the back line, and he is a big damage dealer that Fnatic always have to respect as well.
Yeah, it's 10,000 gold lead problems, right? When the team is up 10,000 gold on you, almost everyone is a threat.
Yeah, I think the BF sword as the 4th damage item in the inventory of the Kazakhs is a pretty clear sign that this game is not going well for Fnatic.
It's a defensive item. He's going to build it in a Guardian Angel. Clearly, he's going
Clearly,
that
I was kind of expecting a Dusk Blade
So
at
is
this point, if I'm honest.
Yeah, he is so far ahead in this game, and I think the BF sword is the right buy in these circumstances because TSM's got such a massive frontline. Whenever you fit in a full tank Galio in your team, you kind of solve your frontline problems, so everyone else is free to build much more offensively.
Now setting their sights on their second Baron of the game. Fnatic on the way in, it would take a miracle, and I don't think they're going to get here in time. Auto attacks coming in, Caps throws down some Dark Spheres, but just poking him, just tickling.
Yeah, popped his Ghost. He's hoping to catch a pick.
They know.
Damage coming down, FNC leaping forward, has to back off though, of course, very squishy. The defensive BF sword buy not coming to fruition quite yet.
And I feel like Fnatic need to use this opportunity to get some vision back in their own jungle, because best case scenario for them is they can find some kind of flank off. If they can maybe get a shutdown onto Double, or maybe if they can get a shutdown onto Sven, then they can turn a fight in their favor. But it's really clutching at straws, and the best that they can hope for is just to delay TSM for as long as possible so that they can get to some kind of late game point, and then like, you really are just grasping.
Exactly, because the Gnar and the Caitlyn and the Lulu and even the Galio are all pretty good in the late game based on the team composition. TSM gonna walk it up, I feel like. They can even get supers coming in the bottom lane if they go finish off that 3rd inhibitor. And then they're actually just gonna set up a siege for the final Nexus right here and dare Fnatic to fight them, because TSM knows they have the disengage power with the Lulu and the Galio.
One last fight for Fnatic. May take a miracle for them to win it, but they're not going to give up hope quite yet. TSM well on the way to victory. Just going to clean up those 2 inhibitors and wait for those super minions to make their way in. Mega Gnar, big opportunity for Haunter to engage. Maybe something Fnatic can punish, but once again, just grasping at straws, just looking for any opportunity to make their way back in. Can't even connect the stun onto Double Lift. So as off to the side, maybe hoping to buy a bit of time. TSM not going to pay him any attention. Just going to set their sights on that mid lane once again.
Yeah, so as a top performer there, not only did he shove the wave out, he also pushed FNC out of the fight. And since FNC doesn't have that defensive item completed yet, he actually has to kind of back away. This does delay the TSM push.
Still endlessly grim here for the side of Fnatic. We're waiting, we're hoping, if you're an EU fan, for an outplay. But if you're an NA fan, you just want to see them close the gap. Tighten the noose, rather, was what I was going to say. I thought that might be wrong, but definitely accurate at this point. In goes Jez's. Fight's going to kick off. Double Lift now having the Galio to come in. They don't even do any damage to him. Finally going to take him down, though, in the end as the cooldowns come through. Caps in trouble as Bjergsen moves it down mid, but this is going to be the TSM win. No hope left for Fnatic.
TSM with an extremely clean game, an extremely clean fight, are going to dismantle Fnatic and take the victory over the EU counterpart.
Not concerned about the Fnatic style. Maybe too strong for Europe, but not too strong for NA.
Yeah, TSM felt like they had something to prove coming into this game, giving Fnatic pretty much everything they would want.
Yeah.
Shen, Kennen, a strong mid laner for Caps, the Camille support with all the tank supports banned away, and they still dominate from